Hello, Mags here again. I thought we'd have a little play today with some jelly printing. I've done a recent batch of jelly prints and I absolutely love them. They're just the basic background layers that I can then add to lots. I've used all PaperArtsy supplies. I've got some Fresco finish, chalk acrylics. Oh, that's Shark. I don't want to show you that one yet. So I've got, I think quite a lot of these are Seth Apter's colours, which I really do love his colours. I think all of those four are. I'm not sure if Butter is. And I don't think Pewter is. So we've got Blue Bayou, Midnight, Niagara Falls, Heavy Cream, Butter and Pewter. So those are the chalk acrylics we're going to use. And you'll realise that I've got a dark, a pale and some mid-tones. We're also going to play with the Mattints, which being a vintage sort of palette girl, I've gone for Shark, Fern and Dragonfly, which is a brighter colour. It's not one of the vintagey colours, but it mixes lovely with Shark. So I'm going to use some of those as well. For those of you who don't know what Mattints are, they are a coloured, transparent, glaze, adhesive, they're multifunctional. If you think matte medium with a colour, that's the sort of idea, but they're absolutely wonderful. So I've got a few prints that I did before to show you. I'll quickly flip through them. This one is using the Mattints to pick all the layers up. This one is just picking some random paint up. I won't explain them all. I'll just flip through them and you'll see once I do the video what we've got. Those were piano roll pieces of paper. Hopefully you can see all the layers in these. Now this is one of the things I'm going to try again. It's the first time I tried this and I didn't actually think it would work, but it did. And I can't wait to use these. This is napkin layers. I got some pretty napkins when we were away recently. And I always, when I use them for decoupage, I always take the top layer off. And the other two underlayers I sometimes use and scrunch up for texture on pages and things. But I thought, I'll see if I could actually pick some of the paint up with them without them disintegrating on the plate and turning into mush or just tearing, and they worked. I don't know whether it was a fluke. Well, I'll have to try it again, but you can be along for the ride. More of the piano roll papers. These are pages out of a little, it's a mini scrapbook it's supposed to be. It's 6x6 and it's ring bound. So when you tear the pages out, you get these lovely punched holes. And it's kraft paper card. So it's really nice for jelly printing. And you get the bonus of you get some pick-up prints with the extra bits. I've got this one here and that one there. I probably won't use this as a whole. I'll probably tear it up. But I love the texture. This has some kitchen roll layered onto it, which has a bit of a texture. And then many, many layers of paint, because I've used this to add texture on my plate, which it's then picked up some of the paint but left some behind. And I've got this lovely grungy edge. That was a bigger journal, which was white paper. Again, one of the bigger journal pages that I've used to pick some paint up. This is where I just had bits of paint left on and I managed to pick some up. Just the edges. And again, more grungy papers. As I say, they don't look wonderful like this, but by the time you've cut them up and torn them and stamped on them, added more layers, they turn into something nice. Now this, you maybe won't be able to figure out what it is. When I'd finished my jelly printing, there was paint just around the very, very edges that the prints hadn't picked up. So this is a piece of sellotape, clear packing tape, and I just lay it on my plate over the edges and pick the paint up, and it cleans the plate, but it also gets you this nice strip of texture, which I just stuck it to white paper, and then I'm probably going to put Mattints over the top or something transparent paint over the top. Maybe Kiwi Gold, which is translucent. That's one of Seth Apter's. That would go nicely over the top. And that's transparent, so you'll see all the layers. So I'll get set up and we'll have a go at creating some of these. Right, I've got my Gelli plates on my worktop. This is an old tile from when we had our bathroom retiled and sorted out. There was a spare tile at the end, so I purloined it for my desk, and it's wonderful because everything wipes off it and it's a nice solid surface. So I've got various bits of paper ready for printing. This Gelli plate is 5x7. The other one is, oh, it doesn't say what size it is. Let me get my ruler out. 6-inch square. So I've got a 6-inch square and a 5x7. I've cut some papers to fit each one. Yeah. So I've got some 5x7s, and they're bigger, the other ones. I've got some of the pages out of the mini scrapbook journal that I use. I've got a spare one that I just tear pages out of to use for backgrounds. I've got one of the longer journal pages. It's just out of a cheap sketchbook, but I use them as journals, and it's again got this lovely perforations. And then I have some of these, which are the leftover layers when I take the first layer off from the napkins. I think these are just one layer, yes. So they're usually 3-ply napkins, and I take off the top one. Let me show you one. See if I can get into this hack. Yeah, haven't tried this one yet, so I might try doing it with the printed bits. This is quite pretty. I thought these would just tear out quite nicely, but they are 3 layers. So when you get to the corner, you can sometimes just separate them quite easily. Yeah, there we are. To take the top layer off, and then you're left with another 2 layers, which you can either separate or leave together. I'm going to leave this one as it is because I'm going to try printing onto it, see what it looks like. So that'll be a new thing to try as well. So I'll put my papers over there ready to use. I've got my little PaperArtsy brayer. It looks very clean because I think they're made out of silicone. I aren't sure, I'd have to ask Leandra. But they are the best brayers if you like to occasionally clean off all the paint. It just peels off. It's an absolute dream. There's no soaking, there's no faffing about. You just sort of get the edge, pull, and it peels off. It's absolutely brilliant. And then you can use the peeled off paint. I'm just trying to think where I put the peeled off paint. Oh yes, it's here. I've got it. This was from the session with those prints I've just shown you. So you can see, because it's acrylic paint, it just stops in a sheet and you can just peel it off. And then I could just add this into the layers wherever I wanted on journal pages. So I've got 3 strips from the last session of Gelli printing, and then I'll have some more after this session. Don't get me wrong, most of my brayers are absolutely covered in paint. I don't very often clean them because I actually think that you actually get quite nice texture when it's built up. But I do sometimes want a clean brayer. This is my speedball brayer, and you can see how much it's built up because it's an absolute layer, and it's got bits on the handle and all over. And to get all this off, I would have to soak that. I think it's Bayou that you soak it in to get it all off and clean it all off. But I tend to leave that one until it won't actually turn round anymore. But this one, I do like to clean it off. So, without any more faffing about, we will start putting some paint down. I might start and then sort of break off, put more layers down and come back, because it's quite a long process building up the layers on these Gelli plates. It isn't an instant thing. You don't get brilliant things from the first pull. And I'm using the right hand one almost like a palette. I like to have the paint spread out a little bit first and then put it onto the plate that I'll be mostly working on. So we'll get one of our craft card bits and place that on. We'll get one of our big pieces of paper. I tend to use these for laying over the top, but I will print on these as well. I won't talk, and then I can speed it up a little bit. So I've got a fair layer of paint built up on here. We've just used paint so far, nothing else. We haven't used any mattints at all. We've just used the paints. So I'm now going to try and pick up the paint on here using the mattint. Now I'll just need to find a couple of prints that have got nice layers that could actually do with some more. That's one. That's got some nice layers, but it hasn't got enough. That I really quite like as it is. Do I add more? Yeah. And this one I really like, but it needs more layers. We'll start with those two, I think. Maybe this one. Difficult. I think we'll go with those two because they've got nice layers, but they need a lot more. So I'm going to apply a bit of Shark, no, sorry, that was Dragonfly, a bit of Dragonfly, and then a bit of Shark to both. Splattered it everywhere. Alright, these aren't as fast drying as the PaperArtsy Fresco finished chalk paints. They take a little while longer to dry, which gives you a bit more wiggle room. I'll probably put too much on here because it'll take a while to dry, but right, and I need to cover right to the very edges so that I pick up all that paint that's on the edges as well. But there is a trick as well that I've learned. I'll show you. Right, so we'll put this one on here. If I had a perfect placement tool, I'd be able to put it exactly where it's been before, but I haven't got one. So we'll just do what we can. So I quite like this, but I like the fact that that's more open. So we'll go right to the top there. We'll use this just to pick up the paint through the holes on there. And the most important thing at this stage is to go round the edges to make sure that you've got the paper right onto the mattint and the paint on the edges, because the edges are sometimes the most wonderful crusty little bits. So now I'm going to turn the camera off and let these dry because they do need to be completely and utterly dry. Right, so I think these are just about dry. I'll just move my gesso out of the way for a minute so I can get to my paint brushes. Because there's a little trick if you haven't quite got to the edges and you want to pick every single little last bit up. So I'm going to, God, I've got paint on my hands. Right, I'm just going to start at one corner and peel back and see what we've got. And as you can see, it's picking every last little bit up. This edge, it hasn't picked up. But what I can do is go into my Shark mattint. And there we had the Shark and the Dragonfly mixed, but this will be fine, and just paint it onto the bits that it hasn't picked up. You don't need to be too precise because it is a grungy print. Right, while it's still wet, push it down, and we need that to dry again. So we'll move on to this one, and whenever I pulled a paper off and it hadn't picked anything up, just add a little bit of matting, press it back down, let it dry, and it should pick it up. That one's done quite well, but I'll wait while this edge has dried again before I pull them. We'll start at this corner. And we'll come all the way down. Now this is where there's the holes, so it won't pick it up because it's got holes, but that'll be nice to pick up on one edge. So we've got this edge here and there, but that is really quite a nice print. You'll see the gel plate, because it's got a lot of oil in it, the matting has sort of spread unevenly, but that's just because it is what it is. It's not a chalk acrylic and it can bead up on the plate. I don't mind that. I like that texture. Here you can see where I press the napkin, this napkin, onto the plate, it's picked up the pattern, the embossed pattern from the napkin, which again, I absolutely love that. So what I can do is, if I want to pick this up, do like I've just said. I'm just taking a bit out of the cap of my mattins. Just go along and go all the way down and paint it with the mattins. Make sure it's all covered. Might as well do this little bit as well. Alright. And then I'm going to press that on and leave it to dry. And then I should be able to pick that bit up on the edge of this paper. Right, we'll go back to this. This should be dry. Yeah, it's still left a little bit on, but we've got more. Let's pick this little bit up. We've got a big blob there. That's because there's been a little bit of paint, a little bit of solid paint. So what we'll do is we'll paint over that and see if we can pick it up. Might not be able to. It's not a deal breaker if we don't, because I still actually quite like that imperfection. Probably haven't left it long enough for it to pick up. No, I haven't. But that's fine. Oh, paper's just ripped, so we'll come the other way and see if we can get it off that way. That's it. Yeah. Our paper ripped here, but what we can do is lift it up. Put a little bit of matting on and lay it back down. So that's a really quite nice grungy print. I can always use my brush that's got a bit of matting left on it just to go over any bits that are very, very white that I don't want, so that it's dulled them down a little bit. I can go along the edges if I want. But basically that's a nice grungy print to start a journal page with. I can add stamping, stenciling, all sorts of things in. So it's nice and grungy. I've got these little bits left, but let's go back to this plate and see if we've got the edge. Oh yes, we have. That's nice. So we've got this nice edge here, which I can tear along and that'll be nice, but we've got this nice grungy print as well. And I can add more layers to that if I wanted to, and I can keep going. But I'll just put my paintbrush in water because it's got my tint on it. Do you remember the little strip? Well, I'll just get some sellotape and we'll try to get a similar thing. This This is just normal clear. I think the Americans call it packing tape. We call it sellotape. And if I could find the end of it. Here we are. And I usually just fold the edge of the sellotape over so I've got something to hang on to. Then go down the longest area of my gel plate that's got the paint on. And you won't be able to see this, but I've got the edge of the sellotape on the edge of the gel plate. I'll just cut the sellotape off and do the same at the other end. You won't be able to see because I think this is out of shot, but basically I'm just folding the edge up. And then you just pick the paint up with the sellotape. So I've got some nice paint on there. Find a bit where I haven't got any paint. Go back down again and pick that a little bit up. And you basically do that all the way along with all your gel plate edges and pick up the bits. I tend to go so that I have a strip with edges. So the edge of the sellotape goes along the edge of the gel plate and then it gives you a border. And then don't be afraid to keep turning it round. There's quite a lot on this edge. You maybe won't be able to see it. It's maybe out of shot, but I'm picking up quite a lot from there. Quite like that, so I'm going to pick that up. That was where our blob of paint had stuck. Any little bits sort of on the plate, you can go whichever way you want, just pick them up. And I tend to look to see where there's gaps and fill those in with the paint off the plate. So there's lots of little tiny bits left, but I won't bore you by going through them all, around them all. But basically, I'm just filling this in. If I put it on some white paper, you'll be able to see. And then I could stick that to another piece of textured painty paper, and then it would have a background as well, and then go over the top with maybe some chalk acrylics. No, that's not quite big enough. That would have been nice, but it's not quite big enough. Let's look for a bigger piece. Maybe this one's quite interesting. So we can go over the top there and have some more interest in the background. It's up to you to decide exactly what you want to do. But I think I'm going to... Oh, that would be quite interesting. Maybe go over the top there. Yeah, I'm going to go there. And then what I can do is actually leave that on there and put it in a journal page, or I can tear it out, whichever. But I would probably go over the top with mattint or a translucent paint, just so that it took the shine away, because I don't know whether you can see it, that it's shining quite a lot. So we've got quite a few papers. I will continue a little bit longer and then probably do a journal page with one. So there's this one, that one with this lovely edge and that nice crusty edge there. That one that we picked up with the mattints. Those two were picked up with the mattints. This was just a pick-up page, but it's nice and it'll cut up nicely. See what else have we got. This one, which is fairly bland, but it'd be nice when it gets some stamping and more texture on it. I think then we're just onto the two tissues, which again need more layers, but they are a start. And if I get a book page, you can see that when they're put into more layers, you can see the book page through them. So it's nice because they'll be able to be torn up and just used in fragments going over journal pages. I've started this one. It needs a lot more layers and things. But again, it'll be quite nice to rip up and use fragments in things. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learnt a little bit, and I hope you give it a go.